Hi, this is week 5, day 2. Well, the schedule's a little bit off. So for third period, this was your 9/14th lesson. And then for 5th and 7th, this was your Friday 9/11th lesson. And then just a heads up, the homework that was due last week was your week 5 science notebook, or not last week, but the last class. And then also your Flipgrid video explaining your hormone. Okay, so what we did in class was we went to a Padlet, which is linked in your science notebook. But unfortunately, if you are watching this asynchronously, you will not do this. So basically, I want you to think about observations that you are making about this graph right here that helps you understand the graph. Like, what are some observations you're thinking about that helps you understand? So while you're thinking about that, I will go to 5th period's observations, which are these bolded ones. So an observation that someone said is, I see that all of the red bars have higher percentages than the orange ones. That's a great observation. It definitely helps you understand the graph. You know, say, I see that all of the red bars have higher, oh, there you said that. I see that there's more red than orange. I see that there are 2 different years. So I see that, let's see, January and June are orange while the red is May. So all of these are really good observations to be noting. So that's what I had them do right off the bat, was to think of look at observations and to write them into that Padlet that I just showed you. And so the reason I did that is because this class, I want to focus on graph literacy, which is our learning target 3. So your learning target 3, by the end of this quarter, I want you to be able to explain trends, units, and information on a graph. And so you should have all 3 of these mastered by the time the end of the quarter rolls around. Okay, so we're going to do that by looking, because our unit is COVID centered, we're going to look at a graph that is about COVID and mental health and how COVID has had an effect on a lot of people's mental health. So I asked people to write on the Padlet like what they see in this graph. So I'm going to talk about a couple of observations that I see on this graph. We'll talk through these examples. It was a little bit more interactive in class, but I'm just going to talk through it here. So the first thing that I see in this graph is I see that there are 2 colors on the graph. Okay, so that's something I see, but what does that mean? So I wrote in the pink box, it means that adults were asked about disorders in May 2020 and in January through June of 2019. All right, because these 2 different colors, if you look on this graph, you see that the red represents people that were asked about these symptoms in May of 2020, while the yellow signifies that it's people that were asked about these symptoms in January through June of 2019. So these 2 different colors actually mean that they were 2 different time periods. Okay, and that's significant. That helps us understand the graph. So I put an example of an observation is that I see 6 different bars. And then I asked the class, do we think that this is a helpful observation, or do we think that it's not very helpful? And students decided that this was a not very helpful observation, because seeing 6 different bars doesn't actually tell us a whole lot. And so one student brought up that a better one would be that I see there are 3 different categories. So you see that symptoms of anxiety or depressive disorder is here, symptoms of depressive disorder, and symptoms of anxiety, right? So there's 3 different categories. So it means that adults were asked about 3 types of disorders, right? And that's significant. That's significant in this graph to understand the data that's being presented. So then another observation the student volunteered is that in the Padlet, there's a lot of these, is I see that the red bars are bigger than the yellow bars. And what does that mean? for this graph. And so what it means is that, let's see, it means that more adults had symptoms of anxiety and depressive disorder in May of 2020 than January and June of 2019. So that's what that means. More people had these symptoms in May of 2020 than they did in 2019. So that's why these bars are so much higher here than they are here. So just based on those three observations, we have already gathered so much information about this graph. We gathered that there were 2 different time periods in which people were asked about these symptoms. They were asked about all 3 of these disorders, right? And then they were also, the data shows that in May of 2020, more people said they had symptoms of depressive disorder and anxiety disorder. And what happened in May of 2020? The pandemic hit, right? So that is a lot of information we've already gathered. So in class, what I did was I had the students find the observation that they wrote in the Padlet and then comment below the what it means on their observations. So that's why in the Padlet here, you can see there's the bolded section, which is their observation. And then underneath, they commented their what it means. So they wrote their what it sees and then what it means down here. I won't have you do that. So instead, I want you to go into your slide 7. And I've already filled out, in your slide 7, you'll see that I've already filled out your first row of what I see, what it means. I've given you a freebie. And so what I want you to do is find 2 other observations. And no, you cannot copy off this YouTube video. I will see it. 2 other observations, you could rephrase mine, or you can find 2 other observations that you think are important and fill in these bottom 2 rows. So go ahead and pause the video, check out this graph, and fill in the bottom 2 rows in your science notebook right here. All right. And then come back and unpause the video when you're done. Okay. So now that you have written in your 2 other observations and what it means, now we're going to take all of that information that you have just gathered about your graph and write a caption out of it. Okay, so really you've already done your heavy lifting. You've already analyzed the graph, you've gathered all this information, you've interpreted that information of what it means. So this caption should be the easy part. So the caption should describe the graph. Basically, you're giving someone a quick summary of what this graph is about. So it should be about 4 sentences long. And I'll explain to you how I want those sentences broken down. First, you're going to have a topic sentence. So this topic sentence really quickly summarizes oh, this is what the graph's about. And then the other 3 sentences are your what I see and what it means. So each sentence will be one of your observations and then your interpretation of it as well. So you'll say I see that, I'm sorry. So you're basically going to say oh, I see that there are 2 colors and that means that blah, blah, blah. And you're gonna do that 3 times to make 3 different sentences. All right, so first I'm gonna walk you through the topic sentence first. For the topic sentence, let's look over here in the yellow first. So you'll see here in the yellow, here are some sentence starters. So the topic sentence, you can start it as, this graph shows blank. Or this graph shows the relationship between blank and blank, right? And so I want you to first look at the title of the graph that we have here. So the title of the graph is saying that the pandemic causes spike in anxiety and depression. So your topic sentence should include that, all right? So I told students that your topic sentence is going to be the sentence starter and then something to do with the title of the graph. So take a pause and let you think about what should be the topic sentence for this graph. All right, now that you've had a chance to think, I want you to go to slide 8, and I will zoom in so you can actually see this. So in slide 8, you'll see that it is right here. Oops. Oops. So say insert, oh my goodness. Insert topic sentence here. So your topic sentence, remember these sentence starters. So I think I want to use this first one. So I want to write that, oops, oh my goodness. This graph shows that the pandemic causes a spike in anxiety and depression. Voila, that's it. So the topic sentence is really simple because you're basically reframing the title of the graph. The title of the graph is going to tell you exactly what's happening. So this graph shows the pandemic causes a spike in anxiety and depression. Perfect. Now, let's go back to these slides real quick. Okay. So now we're going to move on to our middle 3 sentences. And our middle 3 sentences are going to combine our what I see and what it means. So let's take the first example that I put in your notebook as the freebie. So I said, I see that there are 2 different colors in the graph. It means that adults were asked about disorders in May in 2020 and January, June of 2019. So we have all these sentence stems, right? So there is blank showing that blank. Or there's also blank, meaning that blank, all right? And all of these. So I'm going to use this first one. So what I'm going to say is there are 2 colors in the graphs, right? So that's the what I see part. And then I'm going to say showing that adults were asked about disorders in May of 2020 and January to June of 2019. So see, I stated what I see in the graph and then I explained it, right? Using the interpretation I already had down in my notebook. Okay, so what I want you to do, and I already gave that to you in your notebook. So now your only job to finish this classwork is to insert the other 2 middle sentences here. So you're gonna go back up to your slide 7, go to your graph, and you'll see you just have to link this and this to make it a sentence. And then you're done. You just have to write it in here. All right, so that's the classwork. Now, the homework is in slide 9. So in slide 9, let me zoom out. So in slide 9, I want you to practice your LT3. So I'm giving you an assessment. And so I don't want you to freak out when I say the word assessment. Like, yes, assessment means test, but it's take home. And what I really want to see is where you guys are at with graph literacy, because it's a really important skill in science and also just like broadly for the rest of your life. And I want to see like, what help do you need on it? What trips you up? And so remember that when you turn this in, that's not going to be your final grade for LT3. You get so many chances to revise it. All right, so don't panic if you do not understand this. So you would click on whichever period you have. So for 3rd period, I'm just going to list yours right here. So click on whatever period you have, and it should take you to Google Classroom, and then you can open up your document that is your assessment. So just as a reminder, this is your rubric right here. And then this is the graph that you'll be focusing on. So this graph is about stress and how it's connected to how much you sleep. And so you're going to write the title of the graph here to just get you started on thinking about the topic sentence. And then you're going to be writing observations and then trying to explain those observations in order to understand the information that your graph is presenting. Okay, so just like what we did in class, we're going to do these steps. And then you are going to take those steps and start writing your caption. So remember your topic sentences. Remember your middle sentences. Okay, so it should be 4 sentences total. make sure that you turn that into class. So in class, we had a chance to do work rooms where the students went into rooms and then worked with each other or alone or with me. Okay, so I want to just make sure that you know that your homework for this class is due. It's due on Sunday for 5th and 6th, for 5th and 7th period. It is due Thursday for 3rd period, or Wednesday for 3rd period. So this is for 5th and 7th period. Ignore this for 3rd period. Just check the bio calendar for due dates. But basically for this lesson, what's due is the week 5 science notebook. So what we did in classwork, but also do not forget to submit your LT3 assessment, which is the stress and sleep graph, all right? Don't forget to submit that. And then as always, your LT1 is graded. It's an Aries. And for those that did not finish it, it's in your science notebook number 4 and it's slide 4. So I've commented on your science notebook number 4, either your score or that you need to complete it, okay? It's about the teenagers and COVID, claim and evidence. If you have any questions about this, please sign up for office hours. I put the link in your notebook. So if you want to go over your claim and evidence and revise it with me so you can get a better grade, if you need help with your graph literacy homework, please, please, please drop into my office hours. All right. And that is it. That was a lot of information, so thanks for bearing with